ez a transition period, ez a lehető legrövidebb legyen. A szabályok szerint legkésőbb május 4-én jogerőssé válik a választás eredménye, de ez a legkésőbbi időpont, ennél korábban is lehet. És a köztársasági elnöknek, ennek a báb köztársasági elnöknek a szabályok szerint 30 nappal az országgyűlési választások után legkésőbb össze kell hívnia az új országgyűlés alakuló ülését. Én arra szólítom fel Súlyog Tamás köztársasági elnököt, hogy a lehető leggyorsabban hívja össze, ne várjon május 12-ig, hanem akár már május 5-ére, vagy illetőleg hívjon meg engem, és mint a legerősebb magyar párt, a legtöbb szavazatot kapott magyar párt vezetőjét, listavezetőjét kérjen fel mielőbb kormányalakításra. Nincs elvesztegetni való ideje a hazánknak. Magyarország bajban van mindenféle szempontból. Kirabolták, lerabolták, elárulták, eladósították, tönkretették. Az Európai Unió legszegényebb és legkorruptabb országává tették. Amit tegnap este is elmondtam, szeretném gyorsan megismételni, hogy a Tisza kormány minden magyar embert képviselni fog, azokat is természetesen, akik nem a Tiszára szavaztak, minden magyar embert képviselni fogunk határon, innen és túl. Kossuth Lajos, hazánk egyik nagy történelmi alakja, azon kevés nem amerikai államférfiak és állami vezetők közé tartozó nagy alakja, akinek az amerikai kongresszusban is ott van a szobra, azt mondta Lincolnhoz hasonlóan, mindent a népért, mindent a néppel együtt, semmit a népről, a nép feje felett. Ez a demokrácia. Ezt mondta Kossuth Lajos. Mi ehhez fogjuk tartani magunkat, mindent el fogunk követni, hogy ez valóban egy új korszak legyen, hiszen a magyar emberek nem egy egyszerű kormányváltásra szavaztak, hanem egy teljes rendszerváltásra. A Tisza nem árult zsákba macskát. Elmondtuk, hogy mi a probléma, és azt is, hogy ezek megoldásához nem elég egy szimpla kormányváltás, hanem rendszerváltásra van szükség, hiszen a hazánkat tulajdonképpen egy szervezett bűnözői csoport irányította. Egy szervezett bűnözői csoport, ahol a politikai bűnözők összefonódnak a gazdasági bűnözőkkel, és egy kicsit a média elittel és a gazdasági elittel is. Úgyhogy mindenképpen rendszerváltásra van szükség. Előre szeretném elmondani, hogy a Tisza alatt minden magyar embert képviselni fogunk, de bizonyosan nem leszünk tökéletesek. Emberek vagyunk, biztos, hogy fogunk hibázni, eddig is hibáztunk, és hogyha hibázunk, akkor lesz felelősségvállalás, nem lesz a hazánk a továbbiakban egy felelősség nélküli ország. A magyar emberek tegnap sok mindenről döntöttek. Talán az egyik legfontosabb, amiről döntöttek, hogy Magyarország helye Európában volt, van és lesz. Bármit is gondolt vagy tervezett ez a jelenlegi leköszönő, korrupt, aljas és embertelen hatalom, bárhogyan is kísérelték volna meg kivezetni hazánkat az Európai Unióból, a magyar emberek tegnap napra pontosan 23 évvel az uniós csatlakozásunkról szóló referendum után megerősítették Magyarország helyét Európában és az Európai Unióban. Én szeretném megköszönni itt is gyorsan annak a több mint 50 000 önkéntesünknek, akik 2 éve éjjel-nappal, télen, hidegben, fagyban, szélben, nyáron, forróságban segítik a rendszerváltást. Soha ennyi önkéntese politikai pártnak Magyarországon nem volt. Tulajdonképpen egy csodát vittünk véghez, hiszen 2 év alatt a semmiből létrehoztuk Magyarország legerősebb pártját. egy olyan pártot, amely soha nem látott felhatalmazást kapott az újkori magyar demokrácia történetében. Köszönöm szépen minden önkéntesünknek. Rengeteg feladat áll a Tisza kormány előtt, és a lehető leggyorsabban munkához szeretnénk látni. Köszönöm szépen a gratulációkat a világ számos vezetője részéről. Gratuláltak nem nekem, hanem Magyarországnak, hogy ilyen körülmények között, ilyen állampárti rendszerben is félelem nélkül, bátorsággal a szívükben ki tudtak állni a hazájukért, ki tudtak állni egy szabad, független, valóban szuverén Magyarországért, és ki tudtak állni amellett, hogy a hazánk helye Európában van és lesz. Számtalan uniós vezetővel beszéltem már, illetőleg telefonon egyeztettem az Európai Bizottság elnökével, és vele ma folytatom telefonon az egyeztetéseket, hiszen rendkívül fontos és az egyik legfontosabb feladata a Tisza kormánynak, annak a 8000 milliárd forintnak, körülbelül 20 milliárd eurónak, uniós forrásnak a hazahozatala, amely nélkül a magyar gazdaság nem működik, 4 éve semmilyen növekedés nincs. Én mindenkinek köszönöm a gratulációt, látom azt is, hogy Moszkva és a Kreml is megszólalt, illetőleg Peking. Köszönöm nekik, hogy ők is tisztelettel elfogadják a magyar választók, a magyar emberek döntését, és pragmatikus együttműködésre ők is nyitottak, mint ahogyan Magyarország is, hiszen a földrajz az földrajz, és például Magyarország és Oroszország helyesen fog megváltozni várhatóan a közeljövőben. Én mindenkitől azt kérem, minden külföldi országtól, hogy ahogy Magyarország is minden országot tiszteletben tart, minden szuverén ország felé tisztelettel fordul, és az eddigiektől eltérően nem fog beleszólni semmelyik ország belügyeibe, se a balkáni országok belügyeibe, se Spanyolország belügyeibe, se Franciaország belügyeibe, se pénzzel, se más módon, se Szlovákia belügyeibe. Ugyanezt szeretnénk kérni tisztelettel minden külföldi országtól, hogy Magyarországra úgy tekintsenek, mint egy szabad, független, szuverén és egyben európai ország. Egy olyan ország, amely a két legfontosabb és legnagyobb szövetségi rendszer, az Európai Unió és a NATO tagja. Szeretném itt is megerősíteni, hogy egy szó sem igaz azokból a hazugságokból, amelyekkel a propaganda próbálta félrevezetni a magyar emberek egy részét. Önök, a külföldi sajtó képviselői nem élnek itt, nem tudhatják, hogy milyen volt ez az ilyen Goebbelsi, észak-koreai típusú propaganda, ami egészen elképesztő, színvonaltalan, olyan propaganda, amely még egy igazságmorzsát sem tartalmazott. Orbán Viktor a saját népét fenyegette, megpróbálta a magyar gyerekeket, az idős szüleinket, az idős nagyszüleinket félelemben tartani. Azzal fenyegette a magyar embereket, hogyha jön egy másik kormány, akkor elviszik majd az ukrán-orosz frontra a családtagjaikat. Egészen elképesztő mélységben süllyedt Orbán Viktor, hogy megőrizhesse a lopott szajrét, megőrizhesse a hatalmát, és még ki tudja mást. Én innen is szeretném minden magyar embernek üzenni, de a világ minden részére üzenni, hogy Magyarországon senki nem akar háborút. Magyarország a béke pártjánál, a Tisza kormány a béke kormánya lesz. Ellentétben egyébként Orbán Viktorral, aki évek óta nem törődik semmit a magyar embereket érintő problémákkal. Soha nem hallottuk az utóbbi években beszélni az egészségügyről, az oktatásról, megélhetési kérdésekről. Ő egy ilyen 5-dimenziós sakkjátszmát játszott, és valószínűleg ez is lett többek között a vereségének az oka. Ő beszélt mindenről, Ukrajnáról, Oroszországról, Iránról, az iráni sahról, az iráni ajatollahról, az amerikai elnökválasztásról. Valószínűleg, ha felkeltették volna álmából, akkor azt mondta volna, hogy ő nyerte meg az amerikai elnökválasztást, nem is Donald Trump. Mindenről beszélt Orbán Viktor, csak éppen a magyar embereket érintő problémákról nem. És a magyar emberek erre is nemet mondtak. a magyar történelmet, és ezt tegnap a magyar emberek milliói bebizonyították, a magyar emberek írják. Nem Moszkvában írják, nem Brüsszelben írják, nem is Washingtonban írják, hanem a magyar utcákon, a magyar tereken, magyar emberek. Hálás vagyok nekik, hogy ezt bebizonyították. Rengeteg feladatunk lesz, ahogy mondtam, az első, hogy elfogadjuk a korrupcióellenes intézkedéseket, elindítjuk Magyarország csatlakozását az Európai Ügyészséghez, létrehozzuk a Nemzeti Vagyon Visszaszerzési és Védelmi Hivatalt, alaptörvényt módosítunk és beleírjuk, hogy Magyarországon a jövőben miniszterelnökként csak 2 ciklusig szolgálhat bárki, ami 8 évet jelent. Alapvetően helyreállítjuk, mindent el fogunk követni, hogy a jogállamot, a plurális demokráciát, a fékek és ellensúlyok rendszerét visszaállítsuk, hiszen erre adtak felhatalmazást a magyar emberek. Óriási megtiszteltetés számomra, nem is lehet ennél nagyobb megtiszteltetés egy magyar embernek, mint hogy az első szabad miniszterelnök, Batthyány Lajos, egy 19. századi miniszterelnök székében ülve képviselhetem a magyar embereket, és azt tudom üzenni minden magyarnak, hogy a nap 24 órájában, 7 minden napján és az év 365 napján szolgálni kívánom a magyar nemzetet. Mi szolgálatnak fogjuk fel a politikát, és alapvetően visszahozzuk a politikát az emberekhez. Ugyanis a politikának az emberről kell szólnia. Talán lesz rá kérdés is, de hadd mondjam el, kérdezik mindig a titkát, a Tiszának. Kérdezték tegnap is sokan, hogy mi a titok. Hogyan lehet 0 forint állami vagy egyéb támogatás nélkül, kizárólag önkéntesekkel a magyar emberek, a magyar önkéntesek támogatásával és kisebb 5000 forintos pénzbeli támogatásával felvenni a harcot egy állampárttal, amelynek ott van a propaganda, ott van a titkosszolgálat, ott vannak a hatóságok, ott van tulajdonképpen minden. És nem csak felvenni a harcot, hanem egy soha nem látott győzelmet aratni fölöttük. És azt tudom önöknek mondani előre is, így kérdés nélkül is, hogy a titok az ott van valószínűleg, hogy a politika az emberről szól. És ezt felejtették el sokan a politikusok. Látom, hogy Európában is és sok helyen kormányválság követ kormányválságot, hogy meg vannak rettenve a mainstream politikusok, hogy a szélsőséges erők előre törnek, és felborulni látszik a pártrendszer sok európai országban. Én azt tudom innen is üzenni jó szándékkal, kedvességgel, mert engem kérdeztek személyesen is nyugat-európai politikusok, hogy mi a titok, hogy az emberekkel kell lenni. Bele kell tenni a munkát, akár tetszik, akár nem. Én magam 700 településre jutottam el 2 év alatt. Van olyan település, város, ahol 7-szer jártam. Én az utóbbi 2 évben többet voltam a magyar utcákon és tereken, mint a saját ágyamban, a saját lakásomban. Ez nagyon sok lemondással járt. Nagyon keveset találkoztam, sokkal kevesebbet a 3 fiammal, mint amennyit kellett volna, és amennyit szerettem volna. Egy platós kocsival, egy Ford Transittal, egy 20-25 éves Ford Transittal jártuk körbe Magyarországot, és ott voltam a legkisebb településeken is. Sok millió emberrel találkoztam, sok százezer embernek belenéztem a szemébe, kezet fogtunk, és arról beszéltünk, hogy miben tudunk segíteni. Hogyan tudjuk bebizonyítani, hogy a politika lehet szép, lehet őszinte, lehet igazságos és lehet hasznos. Sokan azt mondhatják, hogy ez populizmus. Ha igen, akkor egy jófajta populizmus. Ugyanis a politikának erről kell szólnia. Nem a bülbül nyelvről, nem a politikailag korrekt beszédről, hanem az őszintességről, az emberségről, magáról az emberről. Mi ezt tettük, és nagyon örülök neki, hogy így tettünk. Nagyon örülök, hogy nem hallgattam azokra a megmondó emberekre, budapesti médiaemberekre, elemzőkre, akik azt mondták, hogy ezt nem lehet megcsinálni, mert az ember belefárad, vidéken nem érdekli az embereket a politika. Hát ennek pont az ellenkezőjét láttuk. A tegnapi választási eredmény is sok minden mellett ennek volt köszönhető.
And was due to this that we did things when Viktor Orbán, he betrayed his country, he betrayed Hungarians living outside Hungary, Hungarians living in Transylvania, when he was supporting the Romanian George Simeon candidate. We decided to walk to Nagyvárad, Oradea, and the Partium, which is in Romania, and we did 1 million steps on foot, going through the smallest villages in Hungary and in Transylvania to our sisters and brothers outside the borders. This is what politics is about, and it seems that it struck a chord with people. We got a tremendous mandate. This goes hand in hand with huge responsibility. Allow me to repeat here that the government is a collective, it's a team. The Prime Minister is not going to be like a king, but like a captain who coordinates tasks, who relies on the opinion of his ministers, on their proposals, who relies on members of parliament, but also on Hungarian people. I myself have changed a lot. I learned how important direct relationship with the people is crucial, or as they say, participation. Yes, it is important. This is the only way democracy can work. Facebook posts are not enough, or to go into some studios and send messages to people and make decisions above their heads. This is how we will function, how the Tisza community functioned in the past 2 years. We will make decisions together with the people. We will draw them in. This can mean referenda. The previous government made it impossible to hold a referendum, but this can mean that an online questionnaire, so not the ones we've seen that for 20 billion forints they ask nothing, but we can ask the opinion of citizens. I believe that this will give again and again a mandate for or to the government, not in Brussels to fight, but to bring and make the best decisions. This is what we shall continue. Let me say a few words about foreign policy, because I guess a lot of the press here is interested in this. Hungarian people made a clear decision yesterday. They are proud that we are part of the European Union and NATO. They are proud that for 1,000 years our ancestors, our kings and queens and princes have struggled to be part of Europe. We are proud that we protected the borders of Europe for hundreds of years. All Hungarians are proud of their European identity, and people could see that if this vile propaganda is lying to them, is accusing the European Union and criticizing them that they want war, everyone knows that it's a peace project that was created, the European community, that there should never be a war between the founding member states. And since the EU was created, earlier it was called differently, but there was no war, so Hungarian people could feel and understand that the fact that there is peace today in Hungary is due to a great deal to the EU and NATO. We also see the faults of the EU. 27 member states. It's a large organization, many national interests, party interests, lobby interests. I myself, for 8 or 9 years, I worked as a diplomat in Brussels, as a diplomat of the Hungarian government at the permanent representation, and I could get to know the functioning of the EU. It's a complicated, bureaucratic, seeking compromise, how difficult this is, and also the beauty of this. I can tell you that you can indeed find the compromise. I am here, and I personally, and Hungary is also prepared to create compromises. We shall have debates. I'm sure we will have debates because all member states are there to represent their national interests, the interests of their people, their companies, but we are not going there to fight so that we can fight and then we can write on billboards to the Hungarian people that Brussels is evil and it has to be stopped.
I can promise you that I will always represent the interests of Hungarians, both in Strasbourg and in Brussels, but also in Moscow, in Berlin, or in Washington, or in Beijing, everywhere. I will be very strong and steadfast and honest about the Hungarian interests, and I will represent them. But I attended the Munich Security Policy Conference, and I met many EU leaders. And I can see that this is a normal operation, normal way of working. And this is what is expected by the other member states, that we are open and honest with each other, especially when it's like a private conversation, but even in a greater room. But so we should discuss and settle our disputes, and Hungary will be there. We will be a constructive partner because Europe is in trouble in more than one way. There is still a war waging next to us for over 4 years, and we are in dire economic straits, and we have lost pace. We have lost a lot of competitiveness. There are many social issues, and we are here and we are ready to help. I am personally ready to help to accelerate this process, and rather than expanding the issues, rather make it more streamlined, to make decision-making easier, and also to accept the countries that are ready to join, rather than making them wait in line, because that wouldn't be in the interest of the European people. So there are countless. We have seen countless number of times, as well as yourselves, that the leadership of the EU, how shall I put this? The EU doesn't really have leadership. So the Harry Kissinger's question cannot really be answered to this day.
Okay. I'll just get the information and we provide you some minutes. So
we will be there, and we would like to help to make Europe's voice stronger, to help Europe make headway, and to make decisions together, whether it's competitiveness, concerns competitiveness, or any other topic, to support European citizens and also Hungarians. There's a new piece of information in front of me. Many people believe that Péter Szijjártó disappeared, who was resigning Minister for Foreign Affairs because he wasn't there behind Viktor Orbán, but I would like to reassure you that he resurfaced. And today at 10, he went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs together with Eszter Gyarmati, and he is in a meeting, and they are currently destroying documents that have to do with the sanctions. This is what's happening in Hungary. We know that people have been destroying documents, just like in the old communist age, that shredders are working full-time, not only in ministries but also the other background institutions. They are destroying, shredding documents, but that's not going to help them. But this is just to give you some context about the situation in Hungary today. A normal transition period, just a handover process in a normal country. If there is an opposition party which it has been more popular than the governing party for over a year and will take over the government, then the resigning prime minister will share information with the incoming leader, information that is important regarding the national security. But that's not what's happening. That's not what is happening in Hungary. We have no information at all. And just one last remark, that there are many things that we don't know. There are international treaties, confidential government decrees were passed by the Orban government. There are classified documents that they signed, and we have no idea what they are. There are many international commitments that the Hungarians have no idea about, not even myself, the leader of the largest opposition party and the future prime minister. Orbán Viktor took out loans with unknown interest and conditions. We have no information about those loans. He signed international treaties that cost billions to Hungarians, but we have no idea about the details, the conditions, terms and conditions of those loans. So we will have to get our hands on all of the documents that haven't been shredded, and so that the country remains operational after the handover, whether it's critical infrastructure, IT systems, national security systems, the foreign exchange reserve, the oil reserve. We have our team, we have our plans. We had plans for a supermajority or a simple majority, but now we will be fortunately using the plans that we have ready for the super majority. So I would once again call upon the President to listen to the voice of the people, because the voice of the people is the voice of God, and convene the first parliamentary to convene the parliament, and also receive me in the Sándor Palace where he resides as soon as possible. But we will do everything in our power once we read and learn about those documents, whether it's confidential government decrees or confidential loan agreements, to review them, and those who do not violate the interests, financial or security interests of Hungary, to disclose them, to make them available in the public domain, whether it has to do with education, healthcare, infrastructure, the budget, the economy, what the current status of the country is, what the robbers have left behind, those who robbed and betrayed the country. So we will have a stock take, and then after that we will have a stable budget. And clearly the current budget will have to be amended, because it already collapsed back in 2025. It was amended twice already, and in the first 3 months we had a deficit that is unprecedented in the Hungarian budget since 1990. And the world watched from the outside how Orbán Viktor is robbing bare his own country, and takes out loans without responsibility. But fortunately, Hungarians decided yesterday to end that era and open a new era, the era of humane and functioning and free European Hungary. So there are many things I should address, like the constitution, the economy, the responsibility, are actions to be taken. But now I will stop here and open the floor for questions. I would like to ask all of you to state your name clearly, your country, and also the name of your newspaper or your news outlet. And the first few questions will be asked by the Hungarian press, and then later on the international press will have a chance. Now, formerly, the international press conferences were worked in a way that at this point the propaganda media could ask the questions that were written for them by the government itself, and the independent press couldn't ask questions. And therefore we will now give the floor to those large Hungarian news outlets who are still independent and who survived the last 16 years, very often working with donations and with advertisements, but they were practically the public media of Hungary instead of the state propaganda channels. And first, I will ask Partizan to ask their question. Thank you. It's Ambrus, Partizan, Hungary. I have two questions. One, yesterday you called upon Tamás Súlyog, the president of Hungary, to resign. Can you share us your thoughts? If he was not to take that step, how will you make him resign? And also, during the campaign, you said many times that you will not only go among the people during the campaigns, but regularly. Can you make a commitment that as a prime minister, when will you travel the country once again to meet your voters, your electorate in person? Let me answer the second question. Yesterday, people suggested that we should take a tour of gratitude and walk.
Mindenhol, és ezt tartom is, hogy szeretnénk továbbra is az emberek között lenni, nem csak én, hanem a képviselőink. Elmondtuk minden alkalommal, hogy nem csak most vannak ott a platós kocsi mellett kampányidőben, hanem ők valódi képviselők lesznek, nem szavazógombok, mindig elérhetőek lesznek. Én azt tudom mondani, hogy nyilván ez a 30 nap körülbelül, ami a kormányalakításra kell, az alakulóülésre, egy új kabinet összeállítására, az átadás, átvétel levezénylésére, ez most egy nagyon-nagyon fontos 30 nap, amit ezzel fogunk tölteni, hiszen alapvetően meghatározza ez az időszak, hogy hogyan tudunk nekirugaszkodni a valódi munkának, amit elvárnak tőlük az emberek, az adócsökkentésnek, a költségvetés stabilizálásának, az uniós pénzek hazahozatalának, és nem mondom végig az összes dolgot, de utána biztos számíthatnak rám a magyar emberek, hogy újra fogom járni az országot, még ha nem is úgy, hogy naponta 6, vagy akár 8, vagy akár 9 településen mondok beszédet, hiszen most már a kormányzásra hatalmaztak fel minket, de fogunk menni, és azt is elmondtam korábban, hogy alapvetően nem hiszem, hogy egy kormánynak folyamatosan egy kolostorban kellene üléseznie. Biztos, hogy lesznek olyan kormányülések, amelyek nem
behind closed doors. So I'm sure there will be some cabinet meetings that will not touch upon sensitive issues, and therefore we may have some public and open government or cabinet meetings, and people will be able to ask questions. So we would like to change politics in Hungary. And we would like to give an example, not only in Hungary, but also for the whole world, what politics should be about. It's not politics by Orbán. These politicians like Orbán, who are playing the high priests of peace, they are the ones who start wars or who generate wars. And I would like to be very clear. Minister Orbán said that if Donald Trump were to ask, they will consider sending troops to the Iranian war. Now, I don't know if you are aware of this, but his son, his only son, was planning a military mission in Chad, in Africa, with 200 Hungarian soldiers for tens of billions of forints. So once again, the Prime Minister's son, and he said privately that up to 1/2 of the Hungarian soldiers who will be deployed there may die. And this is in the middle of 2020s in an EU member state, that the Prime Minister's son is planning a military mission in Africa. So this is not how we approach politics. We will work for the Hungarians instead. And to your other question, it is clear for everyone that Hungarians decided to change the regime. And Tamás Súlyog, president, and the other puppets are parts or were parts of this regime. And they were elected not because they were qualified for the job or because they wanted to represent the unity of the nation, which is the job of the president, or or to watch over those in need and support them, and to be the human face of Hungary, which would be the role of a president. But rather, he was appointed to sign everything, every document that he is presented with, whether it's the menu or the constitution or the laws. So we don't need people like that. That's not a president. To me, he is not a president. He allowed the country to be robbed, the National Bank to be robbed. He didn't say a word when thousands of Hungarian children were abused by pedophiles who were appointed by this government, who were awarded by this government, or who were pardoned by this government. The president didn't say a word. That's not a true president. And I hope that he is listening. He may not have heard last night, so let me repeat. He should resign. He should resign as soon as possible. This is the decision of the Hungarian people. We have a supermajority which will make it possible for us to amend the constitution.
But I don't want to be a lawyer, especially against a lawyer like the president. I hope that the remainder of his dignity would be left and he would leave his office, because we don't need the puppets of the mafia. Hungarian people deserve a president who is really showing the unity of the Hungarian nation, who would stand for a humane Hungary, who would act if he sees that GRU, the military secret service agents, are here and wanted to influence the Hungarian elections. 1956, 70th anniversary this year. Such a person cannot be the president of Hungary on the 70th anniversary of 56. He should leave. We have solutions. We are not going to do anti-rule of law measures to restore the rule of law that way, but with a supermajority that enables us to many things. Next question, 444.hu. You also referred to the two-thirds majority, so it will be 2 cycles that you will restrict how long the Prime Minister can be. So will you talk with the opposition about this? Can you say that Viktor Orbán is never ever going to be the Prime Minister, and that you yourself will only do 2 cycles max? Last time, when asked about your ministers, you said, let's cross our bridges when we get there. Now you said the team is ready. What can you share with us about the cabinet, the future cabinet, the ministerial structure? Who will be the heads of the different ministries? Balázs Kaufmann, you heard, it's partly due to him that we can stand here, because more than 2 years ago he was the journalist who wrote the pardon scandal. He wrote an article which really shook in its foundations Hungary, which partly led to my appearance. I just wanted to make this comment, as Zsolt talked about in the relevance of independent press. So structure, maybe I'll start. So first, I have said many times that we will have a different governing structure than what it was with Fidesz. In Fidesz, there were these big major ministries, and we will have sectoral ministries, so Minister of Health, Minister of Education, Environment Protection, Rural Development, Clean Finance Ministry, so we will have foreign trade, domestic trade, we will have a Prime Minister's office, Secret Service will go back to where it was before, Information Office will go back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we will have responsible ministers. They will take responsibility for their decisions. Many names are known, actually more than what would be expected, because few names were known when a Fidesz government led to a Fidesz government. So a prime minister needs to have discretionary power to discuss it amongst themselves, assessing the magnitude of the mandate to create the team with whom they plan to manage the country. András Kármán, Zsolt Hegedűs, I could mention many others. I won't announce any new names here, but within weeks you will, or the Hungarian public will get to know them. Parliament committees will hear them, and then people will see them. They will be experts, I can say. So not puppets, as not corrupt, sometimes betraying. So not corrupt puppets, but real expertise is going to be there in Hungary, which I think is good news, and it's necessary for us to progress. Prime ministerial cycle, I can state. So we got a mandate now for one cycle. I can, if my body one term, I can't see 5 years ahead. So for 4 years we got a mandate, which is tremendous, and this will be in the fundamental law. And I said, because Viktor Orbán has been prime minister for 20 years now, of 36, 20 years as a prime minister. So this limitation in the fundamental law will apply to him, so he cannot be prime minister of Hungary, but still he is the prime minister who was in office for the longest period of time. He had a tremendous mandate, he had a tremendous opportunity, he could have carried out tremendous things for his country to make Hungary a country that develops, but he didn't use it, he misused this opportunity. Thank you. 24.hu, 24.hu. Csaba, Horváth. Holding to account, where are you? I can't see you, sorry. So, yeah. Holding to account, I want to ask my questions. Anti-corruption measures you mentioned. What are these measures going to be? And asset recovery institution office, when can it be set up earliest? What mandate, remit will it have? What will be the first cases in your view? Thank you. So, anti-corruption measures, European Prosecution Service, I said, so even if Hungary decides, Parliament can initiate our accession, but it's about 6 months before this can all happen. We will create an anti-corruption office. I know some of you don't believe in office, but intentions are crucial. Do you want to do something, and not the name or the label that matters? So everything with public money, it will, so preventive, education and watchdog role. Whistleblowing and anonymous whistleblowing possibilities, so to really to uproot or to take out corruption. Hungary cannot develop. For some time it was almost like accepted. We spoke about corruption like it's called theft, and the money that is stolen, the thousands of billions of forints through overpriced public procurement, this is the money of the pensioner. It's missing from child protection in Tisadob child protection home, where they don't give extra food to the children, and the refrigerator was locked so that a 5-year-old child cannot eat if he's hungry. So this is not normal. We should not accept that stealing public money is normal. But we will restore the independence, so no politically appointed leaders, whether they were at the prosecution, police, or inland revenue, or at secret service, to cover up cases. Bence Szabó, captain, who was a captain of the National Bureau of Investigation, under what pressure they were working. They were forced, small police officers, or Pálinkás Szilveszter spoke about the defense forces, not to go after the real culprits. He spoke about many agencies, and politically motivated procedures were launched against civilians or journalists or artists. If we restore professionalism, if we can separate the operative and the political management, and if we can say that a minister cannot intervene into the work of a police commander, into their professional work, so only political oversight, because obviously it's the Minister of the Interior who has this political oversight. National Asset Recovery Office this will be an important role. It's going to be one of the most difficult tasks to lead this. We have some candidates, but here we cannot make any mistakes, because there's a huge expectation from people, and it's the interest of the Hungarian economy that from the past 16, 20 years, crimes can be revealed, so this office can really help investigative authorities, so they won't be competing, the different units or branches or agencies. They will work together. What remit? Well, 2/3 majority we were given, so substantive remit, even investigative rights can go to such an office, but we want a coordination role. National Bank, 650 billion, motorway concession, tobacco and waste concession, breathing machines, Matthias Corvinus Collegium assets given to them, transfer of assets to them, ministry building, leases, sales, gas, oil procurement, POX, MET, Batthyány Lajos Foundation, state ad support contracts, all banned campaign financing, above 10 billion public procurement, investigating all public procurement above 10 billion, half Hungarian foreign. So maybe I'm too fast. I apologize from the interpreters. So I only mentioned just the first couple of tasks that this office will have. So this industrial scale corruption has to be solved. 8,000 billion from the EU doesn't arrive because of this, and this is why we became the poorest and the most corrupt country in Europe. I can tell you, I would hope that in June we will be there. I will do everything personally to set it up. So there is an office. It can replace the so-called Sovereignty Protection Office that was created to serve the propaganda. It has nothing to do with sovereignty protection. 6.2 billion Hungarian forints were given to this office. This will be thrown over to the asset recovery. Bence Szabó, Pálinkás Szilveszter, and many others will be welcomed to this new institution. We'll still remain a little bit with the Hungarian. So now Telex. Telex is not sitting together with the other. Daniel Simor, yesterday you said Viktor Orbán congratulated you. Did he say anything? And my other question, so you asked for many people to resign. Mihály Varga, you didn't mention. So Sülyog Tamás appointed him. Why is Mihály Varga different? Why did you not tell him to resign? Thank you. Telephone congratulations. I guess it's not a secret. This was a short telephone conversation. It was, as I had imagined, although I did not guess it would happen, but the Prime Minister did it. So my telephone rang, and my once good friend Gergely Gulyás, the godfather of my son, was there, and we know each other's number, and he said he would like, the Prime Minister would like to congratulate, and I because I don't take unknown numbers. He gave the last 4 digits. The comrade Prime Minister called within minutes, and I said, I am Péter Magyar, good evening, and he said, I am Viktor Orbán. I would like to congratulate you for your victory. I said to this, thank you very much for your congratulations on behalf of Hungary, and it's a great honor. It's the greatest honor that sitting in the chair of Lajos Batthyány, I can serve the Hungarian nation as Prime Minister. And I also said, if I can say this, from today, from the 13th of April, we have a joint responsibility to reunite the Hungarian nation and to do everything so that it will be easier and better day by day for Hungarian people. And he said, good, I wish you good night. This was our telephone conversation.
To your other question, the governor of the National Bank. Well, I intentionally left him out from the list. I said that Hungary was in a very difficult financial and economic situation, and the National Bank of Hungary's prime responsibility is to ensure the stability of the exchange rate. And, well, it hasn't been very successful recently when we have had major inflationary pressure as well. But as far as I can see, irrespective of who appointed Mihály Varga, he is a different kind of governor for the National Bank. He seems that he is willing to observe the requirements and the provisions of the Act on the National Bank. And I think that it's important in a country, especially if it's in a difficult financial situation, not to have cooperation between the budget and the fiscal and monetary policy, but obviously respecting the independence of the National Bank. And that is why we have decided to try to work with him. And what we see is that the governor of the National Bank and the National Bank itself will do its statutory job instead of blocking the economic policies of the new government, then we may be able to work together. So it's not necessary to create even greater chaos and to launch new procedures or to lose the confidence of international financial markets in Hungary even more with a war between the government and the National Bank. We don't want that. The next is RTL, but we should also come to the international press soon. Yes, RTL. Thank you. Magyar Éva, RTL News. I saw that someone gave you a piece of paper during your speech regarding the information concerning Péter Szijjártó. Can you share with us some details where the information is coming from? Do you have any proof that this is what's happening, that they are shredding documents in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And also, my question is whether Hungary will be able to detach itself from Russian oil. Well, the first, to your first question, this is an insider, a piece of insider information regarding what's happening in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Many people shared information with us in the last couple of weeks, information concerning crimes, felonies that are taking place in the ministries and the background institutions. And I believe that the state knows, and our prosecutors and our police officers know that the TISA government is counting on them. They took a vow to protect and serve the Hungarian people, but not the state party, not Viktor Orbán. And I think it is it is only just if they report crimes when they see them. Until now, it was pointless because they couldn't investigate. But so this is where the information is coming from. And once again, we will rely and count on everyone who did their job well, who kept the laws, didn't violate the laws, because the TISA government needs good government people, good police officers, good prosecutors, and there are people like that, such people in the country, but they haven't been able to do their jobs. But now they will be able to do their jobs, and they will have a lot of work to do. So this is where the information is coming from, and but we also receive information from ambassadors, and because someone worked as a career diplomat or a head of department in a ministry, they were looking at watching how the country is being robbed. But still they can be a good public servant, and we rely on the experience of those people. They can take out the materials, the documents, the files from their drawers that until now they couldn't act upon. Now they will be able to act upon them. So the foreign press may not be aware, but we have a beautiful poem written in the 1950s when we had the darkest communist dictatorship in Hungary. And Gyula Ilyes wrote a poem, a sentence about tyranny. It's about 10 pages, but it's one sentence, a single sentence. And that poem could not be published for 5 years. So he kept it in his drawer, and then during the 1956 revolution, that's when it was published. So this is the kind of document that I'm talking about. So now people can open their drawers and take out the files. And when it comes to the Russian oil, I've said many times, but I will repeat it now, that the TISA government will do everything in its power to diversify our energy mix, energy purchases, for 2 reasons. Because that gives us security, and energy security is one of the most important issues in Hungary. And secondly, this is how you can purchase oil or gas at the cheapest, the lowest prices. So I was trying to explain this to the Fidesz propagandists. If you are buying oranges from 3 places, from the east, from the west, and from the south, then even during a geopolitical conflict or a war, you will be able to buy oranges, and you will be able to buy oranges cheaper because your sources will compete with each other. So the same applies to oil and gas. But let us also not forget that we cannot change geography. There are many things we can change, and Hungary has worked miracles, but we are unable to change geography. Russia will be here, Hungary will be here, but we will try to diversify. That doesn't mean that we want to detach ourselves. We want to buy oil at low prices and securely. But the Druzhba, the friendship oil pipeline, and what's happened there, we can see that it threatens Hungary's energy supply. Or what's happening in Tehran, in Iran, that threatens our energy supply. So it is in the interest of Hungary to diversify our energy mix and energy supply as much as possible, to build cross-border capacities, to sign international treaties by the Hungarian state or by MOL, so that we are able to buy energy from the east, from the south, from the west, or from the north to supply Hungarian households and companies. So, and obviously there is a war which is still ongoing, and that's why we have the sanctions. But we see what's happening in Iran, in Tehran, and sometimes the sanctions are lifted because otherwise the global economy would collapse and countries would go bankrupt because of the oil shortage. But as soon as the war is over, and let's hope that the negotiations will be successful and this war will stop soon, then immediately Europe will lift the sanctions, because we are neighbors to Russia, and it is not in Europe's interest to buy raw materials at higher prices, because that destroys our competitiveness. It's sometimes easy to say things, and I understand the moral issues or the issues of principle, and I will protect human rights. as much as possible, as much as the next guy. But let's not shoot ourselves in the leg. So we will try to buy oil and gas from as many sources as possible. That's my answer. Thank you. And now, foreign press. Péter Magyar has said many times that as Prime Minister, his first journeys will take him to Warsaw, first to Poland and then Vienna, Austria. So let's begin with those two countries. I can see that TVN news from Poland are here. So the floor is yours. Please pass the microphone. So you have two questions.
For your trip to Warsaw, would you meet President of Poland, who supported Viktor Orban during the campaign? And the last thing, Viktor Orban granted asylum to two politicians from Poland, Zbigniew Ziobro and Marcin Romanowski. You said many times that you will get it back. Would you tell us when? Thank you.
Dziękuję. Köszönöm szépen.
Thank you. My answer to your first question is that yes, I spoke to Prime Minister Donald Tusk yesterday. He congratulated me on the phone and he expressed his joy that Hungary will no longer be a puppet state for Russia but will return to Europe, and that's what the Hungarians decided. And indeed, my first trip, hopefully, and this is what I discussed with him, will be to Warsaw at the beginning of May. I'm very happy to go there. I would like to also travel to Gdansk or other Polish towns. And once again, I would like to point out that Hungary and Poland has a special relationship. It's a deep friendship and a deep alliance over 1,000 years. We had shared kings and queens. The Polish helped us out. We helped them out over those 1,000 years, and we are very proud of that. We have a saying that Hungarians and Poles are two good friends. They fight together and they drink together. And Viktor Orban hurt that friendship to a large extent by serving Russian interests and by also, well, so he practically destroyed the Hungarian-Polish relations, but we are going to rebuild them. That's one of my personal issues, to restore the friendship between Poland and Hungary to what it used to be a couple of decades or a couple of centuries ago. And obviously, when I'm traveling to Poland, I will be glad to meet the president who was democratically elected. He didn't congratulate me, but, well, I can live with that. And the other question, what was the other question, sorry? Yes, Mr. Romanowski and Mr. Zibro. Well, I think I spoke very clearly about that earlier. I suggested that they shouldn't buy any furniture in Hungary in IKEA because they are not staying long. Hungary will not be an asylum for international criminals, and that doesn't only apply to them but also to Mr. Nikola Gruevski, the former Northern Macedonian president, who is also a felon. But and that's not because this is fair, but also we expect other European countries that if Hungarian political criminals are escaping to other countries, we want them to extradite them back to us in line with the spirit of European cooperation, these potential criminals. And I can only suggest to Mr. Zibro and Mr. Romanowski that if they have nothing to hide, then they should go home and stand in front of the people. Well, he used to be a minister for justice, so he must know the Polish judicial system. So he should clear his name of the accusations. And that's not my job. So we will find a way, unless they have already left. But if they haven't left, we will extradite them to Poland. And thank you. The next question is from the ORF, the Austrian public broadcasting company. Thank you. My name is Ak Hisai. Magyar.
Your goal of your upcoming visit to Austria and of developing the relationship to the neighboring country. And the second question is, will you reverse Viktor Orban's stance on Ukraine support and unblock the 90 billion euro credit that is being withheld on the European level? Köszönöm szépen.
Köszönöm.
Thank you. First, I will discuss with the Chancellor of Austria, but I also met him formerly in Munich, so we agreed that I will visit him because we used to have, we used to share a country, and Austria is a key economic partner of Hungary. Many Hungarians work in Austria, and we have a good relationship, even though this relationship has deteriorated in recent years under the government of Viktor Orban. So I would like to strengthen the relationship between Hungary and Austria for historical but also for cultural and economic reasons. And I would like to say in general that we are not trying to only restore the Hungary and Poland friendship, but also the Visegrad four countries, that is including Czechia and Slovakia. And if possible, we would like to extend the Visegrad 4 cooperation. There is the Slavovsky Threes, Czech Republic, Slovakia and Austria, and there is the Visegrad 4 country, and those could be merged. And we could even invite other member states, such as Slovenia, Croatia. So I would very like to have a strong European Union with a strong Central Europe, with economic, cultural, infrastructural cooperation. We already have this with Austria, but not with Warsaw. We do not have direct train line to Warsaw. So I believe this is in the interest of every country, including Austria and Hungary. So I hope that we will be able to make progress here. And the 90 billion loan to Ukraine. Well, I'm not sure what we are talking about, because in December at the meeting of the European Council, Viktor Orban got an opt-out. So the Council of Europe decided that Hungary, Slovakia and Czechia will be left out from the 90 billion euro loan, so it doesn't apply to our countries. And that's how it was accepted. And I'm not entirely clear on that. I will discuss with the European leaders, but I personally agree that Hungary should opt out. Hungary is in a very difficult financial situation, and it is our job to bring back the EU funds that belongs to us and that every other member states have received but us. So we haven't received it, we are unable to use it to improve our economy, so we cannot really take out even more loans. The Hungarian budget the deficit and that state debt has tripled since 2010. So we would like to bring home the EU funds, but this is already a decision that was made in December in Brussels, so I don't know why this should be reopened, even though I understand that the position of Viktor Orban changes often because he first accepted it and then he rejected it. That the same with the EU accession of Ukraine in 2022. He wrote a letter to Ursula von der Leyen that Ukraine should accede to the EU immediately, but then he is against it. He is very strongly opposing it. So we will try to be coherent and honest in our communication and not change our minds every 6 months.
From the beginning, we have said that we are not supporting the fast-track accession to the EU of Ukraine. It would be impossible that a country in a war to be taken by the EU. These discussions cannot be held, all the chapters to discuss, so I don't think this has relevance, but I can see that there are some movements, so the people that we have spoken with, the member states, don't take this as possible scenario. So all accession countries have to go through the same process. They have to discuss all the chapters, and if Ukraine does it, then in Hungary there will be a referendum whether the EU should take it, and it's not going to be in the near future. Deutsche Welle, Focsar Fanni.
Magyar. My first question goes towards the relationship between Israel and Hungary. Last year when I was here, I was covering how Prime Minister Viktor Orbán rolled out the red carpet for Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, and also Hungary has made a decision to start a process that Hungary withdraws from the ICC. Will you revise this decision? And second, you have just underlined how important it is to forge close ties with European leaders. What will the relationship look like between Hungary and Germany? What kind of relationship would you like to build with Germany's Chancellor, Mr. Merz? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I'm looking for my papers. ICC, the Orban government started, I think, on the 2nd of June. This will close, and this is a process we cannot stop. However, we are going to relaunch Hungary's accession to the International Criminal Court cooperation. I think it's the interest of the international community and Hungary for us to be there. Israel and Hungary, obviously there's a special relationship. A lot of Hungarians live in Israel. A lot of Israeli citizens come here to Hungary. We have a very strong Jewish community living in Hungary, one of the largest, thankfully, in security, safety and peace, and zero tolerance in Hungary to all forms of anti-Semitism. This is going to continue. We won't do anything like the propaganda, what the Orban government said in some of its propaganda brochures. But Israel is also an important economic partner. We strive for pragmatic relations. I cannot guarantee, of course, we need to examine every decision, but I don't want to run too far into the future. We will see what decisions the EU will make and to see what the truth is. Germany is the most important partner of Hungary. Strong historic alliance, cultural ties. A lot of Hungarians work there. Most important investor in Hungary. The relations also. Merz, Viktor Orbán, no bilateral relationship, no bilateral meeting happened between the two politicians. We want to create very strong ties in Munich. I met the Chancellor yesterday. He called me and said he would like to host me in Berlin to discuss any open issues and to have close political ties, similarly to the economic ties. German investors are doing a good job here. They employ a lot of Hungarians. I can also see there are some German investors that were kind of persecuted by this government, and competitive equality was not guaranteed to them, but I could say this for Austrian companies as well. Level playing field is what we want to provide to all foreign investors, so not benefits like to the South Korean or the Chinese investors that the previous government did, but no, we want to have a level playing field. We are waiting for foreign investors. We want to support Hungarian SMEs. Foreign investors will see, and also the Hungarian investors will see, that the rule of law is working. Its legislation will not be passed during the night, but predictable, stable processes. This is what I can say, and I'm looking forward to the cooperation with Germany. I studied in Hamburg. I love that city, and I really like Germany. Although I've forgotten a lot of my German, Mr. Magyar said a few words in German. So we are now about halfway through, and now I'd give the floor to the BBC to ask their question. So BBC. Katja Adler.
Viktor Orbán, what he stood for at home and abroad. What should we expect from Peter Magyar? What will you be standing for? And if I can ask as a second question, can we...
Sorry, standing for...
Yes, what principles will you be standing for? What should we expect from you? And secondly, can we get a clear answer, please, on the Hungarian veto on the loan to Ukraine? Will you be removing it or not? Thank you.
Thank you. Az első kérdés.
To your first question, I can say what I have, I think, referred to what can be expected. We want to cooperate with our European partners. Hungary will be a country of rule of law, a reliable partner, not just in the EU, within the EU or with the United Kingdom, with the United States, within NATO. So you will see about Hungary what you saw decades ago. So Hungary was a front runner. This is what we want to go back to. We want to place Hungary to the front runner of Central Europe. We know we have strong competitors. From me, you will always see, and from TISA, we will stand by the rule of law, human rights, even if sometimes there is a contradiction between human rights and economic interest. We will always choose human rights, and we will be a reliable, trustworthy partner. Maybe sometimes it won't be simple because we will be representing Hungarian interests, but we will always be reliably there if there is an issue, and we will communicate honestly. And if someone communicates, or if there is honest communication, then you can always find the solution. Your second question, I don't fully understand. So it will be more than 1 month from now that the TISA government is going to be formed. By then, it's going to be off the agenda. So this, I can see that in Brussels, negotiations are going on to bring it back. But this is a decision that's been accepted. Hungary has an opt-out. Hungary was left out and is going to be out. But the European partners have accepted this. So I think with this I have answered the question. Sky News is the next question. Sky News.
Ivor Bennett from Sky News. You've said that those who have defrauded the country will be held accountable. Does that include Viktor Orban? Could he go to prison? And secondly, you have heavily criticised Viktor Orban's relationship with Russia and with Vladimir Putin. What will your relationship be like with Vladimir Putin? Will you speak to him? And if so, what will you say? Thank you.
Thank you. Köszönöm szépen.
First question. It's not the task of a politician. It's not the task of a prime minister. It's not the task of a prime minister, not a party leader's task to assess whether the other party president, former prime minister's place is in prison or not. A prime minister's task, a government's task, is to guarantee the independence of the judiciary, the independence of investigative units, to give financial sources or funds so that they can carry out their tasks. So the new independent Hungarian judiciary's task will be to investigate who carried out what kind of criminal offences. It will be the task of the Asset Recovery Institute to examine whether there was a crime or not. How did they deceive? How did they manipulate public procurement? Everyone can see that it's not a normal thing, and it cannot happen legally that Viktor Orbán's friend, treasurer Lőrinc Mészáros, gas technician, water technician, in 10 years he's 5 times richer than the royal family in 400 years. So we are talking about someone who cannot read or write, who cannot really speak. So he's a childhood friend of Viktor Orbán. I think all of us have assumptions that this is not okay. You can't do this legally, but it's not Magyar Péter's task. And I would be cautious that it's not the politician's task, it's the judicial system's task to do this. What we can do is we can guarantee the independence of the judiciary, the investigative bodies. We will create the Asset Recovery Institute. I can see the social need that our country has been robbed, but we are not living in communism, that we take something away without court decision and we say that someone should go to prison. This is not my task, but the judiciary will carry out its own task.
Regarding Russia and Hungary, I'm glad that what the Kremlin said today, that they respect the outcome of the Hungarian elections and that they've heard that I, myself, and the new government will strive for a pragmatic relationship with Russia, and I can confirm that. And similarly to many other European countries who have a pragmatic relationship with Russia, because you cannot change geography, we are exposed to Russia in terms of energy sources, because there is a heavily overpriced POKS nuclear power plant expansions. But we will revise all contracts, we will renegotiate them if necessary, we will terminate them if necessary. So if Vladimir Putin calls me, I will pick up the phone. But I will not call him myself. But if we were to speak, I can say, I will ask him to please stop the killing after 4 years, stop the war that has no point at all for them either. Tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Russians also died and families destroyed, including Russian-speaking people living in Ukraine, killing them, bombarding their cities, raping them, etc. But so this is what I will tell him, and I think that will be a very brief discussion. I'm afraid that he will not stop acting on my advice, but I hope that he will be forced to end the war soon. Thank you. The next question is from Kyiv Independent, Ukraine.
From the Kyiv Independent. Gratulálok a győzelemhez.
I congratulate you on your victory.
People have clearly rejected the pro-Russian Fidesz campaign, scare campaign during the election, all about Ukraine and Zelensky and war. But since you're saying this is going to be a clear shift back to the EU and NATO and these values, how specifically is your Ukraine policy, TISA's Ukraine policy, going to be different to pro-Russian Fidesz Ukraine policy? And the second question would be connected. We've had now over a year of effort by President Trump, mostly with pressure on Ukraine rather than Russia, to make peace. What is your vision for exactly how peace should be achieved in your neighboring country? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The first question, the Ukraine and Hungary. I can say that the TUSA government will try to have an alliance with every neighboring country, or preferably a friendly relationship with every neighboring country. And primarily because Hungary is surrounded by Hungarian people as a result of an international treaty which is more than 100 years old. Many Hungarians live also in Ukraine, even though much fewer than a couple of years ago. In Kárpátalja we have some historic towns, and roughly 100,000 Hungarians still live in Ukraine. So it is in our interest to have good relations with our neighbors and to resolve any disputes. That applies to Ukraine, Slovakia, Serbia, and also Austria. There are some outstanding issues, even though they may not be as sensitive as the ones with Slovakia or Ukraine. So I received the congratulations from your president, and I'm sure I will meet him, if nowhere else than in the European Council, when I will become Prime Minister. And I will strive to resolve the situation with every neighboring country. There are many outstanding issues that we will inherit from the Orban government because they used these disputes for party politic reasons or purposes. And let me then now turn to the second question. We have always been clear that in this situation, and I wasn't changing my mind one day to the next. I didn't say different things in Brussels or in Moscow, just like Orban did. So everyone in Hungary knows that Ukraine is the victim of this war, and that Ukraine, based on the Budapest Memorandum of 1994, it is the job of any Ukrainian government to protect its territorial integrity and sovereignty, and no one should tell them that hopefully at the end of a 4-year war, under what conditions they should enter peace or sign a peace treaty. So we cannot say any country to give up their territory. If they do, they are a traitor. And this is what the Fidesz politicians said. Then I would like to ask them, what happened? What would you do if Russia attacked Hungary? Which Hungarian counties would you be willing to give up? So this is a blood-curdling speech, and it's not doing right by our heroes of the revolution of 1956. And I hope that every international players will be a part of this, because obviously Hungary will not decide the peace between Ukraine and Russia, but they should give security guarantees, territorial guarantees that can be observed or that can be kept. So Ukraine will not end up like many other countries where he gave up, in the Budapest Memorandum, he gave up his nuclear arsenal, but then for guarantees, but those guarantees were violated repeatedly by Russia. So once again, I would like to say that we will strive to be friendly with all neighboring countries, but with Ukraine, it will be a condition precedent to resolving the situation is to ensure the rights of the Hungarian minority living in Ukraine. And I believe it's clear also for the Ukrainian government that linguistic rights must be restored in Ukraine. And I don't really understand why this hasn't happened until now, because so there was always the intention there from either Ukraine or Hungary, but we couldn't reach an agreement. And the Hungarians living in Ukraine are not asking much. They are only asking the same rights as that they used to have 10 or 15 years ago, so that they don't have to live in fear, so that the Hungarian kids don't have to leave the country if they wish to use their mother tongue. I think this is not such a great ask, and I hope that we will be able to resolve those disputes. So Bloomberg's in line 2.
The Eurozone, this has been part of your platform in running for this election campaign. Can you establish for us a timeline? Will you use that 2/3 majority in order to accelerate that process? And also on the 20 billion euros that is sort of on the sidelines from the European Union, can you establish a timeline there for when you'd like to see those funds unlocked? And just a final, if I may, just on the clarification on the 90 billion question that you've got a couple of times, because Orban has blocked the loan despite the fact that Hungary is not a party to that loan. It still needs unanimity at the European Council. Will you approve it? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Köszönöm szépen. Az első kérdés
So the first question having to do with the Eurozone. Yes, indeed, we did mention it more than once in the campaign that it is in Hungary's interest to join the Eurozone. And Bulgaria has already joined recently. And Hungary hasn't used this opportunity that is granted, well, the flexibility that is granted by the non-membership of the Eurozone. On the contrary, we had giant inflation, we had some very bad economic decisions, we increased our state debt, so we didn't observe the Maastricht criteria, and therefore the majority of Hungarian business leaders believe that the Hungarian economy could have some stability if we had a target date for the Eurozone accession. And I said in the campaign, and I can only say again, that we will need to look at the budget, the actual position of the budget and our international commitments, and we will have a public discussion about the Eurozone membership, and once that is over, we will have a decision about the date when Hungary joins the Eurozone and how Hungary can comply with the Maastricht criteria, which is in the interest of the country because it provides stability, also price stability for Hungarians. They will not need to face record inflation rates that what happened during the Orban government. Whether it's 2030 or 2031 or later, I cannot tell you right now. We will need to wait and see the Hungarian budget position and the weaknesses or the exposures. And regarding the 20 billion EU funds, it's very important to bring them home as soon as possible because for the majority there are some very strict deadlines. There are some funds where the deadline is August 2026, and we are aware of that. The EU institutions and the Commission are also aware of that deadline. So I said clearly what we can do and what's good for Hungary, for the Hungarian companies and for the Hungarian people. And what the EU expects us, or the Commission expects us to do, there are four things. Anti-corruption measures, including joining the European Prosecutor's Office. The second, the independence of law enforcement and the judiciary. Third, the freedom of press. And stopping the propaganda spending. And the fourth, academic freedom, restoring academic freedom to the Hungarian universities, liberating Hungarian universities, and giving them back to the Senate and citizens of university, and also research institutions. These are the things that we can do, and we will be able to do, and I hope that the decision will be made quickly. I said that my first journey will be to Warsaw, the second to Vienna, but the third to Brussels. And that can happen in 1 or 2 days. I must be very quick. And I hope that by then we will have a preliminary agreement. I would like to discuss that with Ursula von der Leyen today on the phone to repeat our commitments, our promises, and then they will give us a timeline so that we don't lose all that money which is badly needed for the Hungarian economy. We have already lost 2 billion euros, one at the end of 2024 and the other at the end of 2025, but we don't want to lose any more money. And thirdly, I can say the same thing, that this is already a decision, but I will have some consultation. I will consult EU leaders. If any decision is still required, that can only be a technical decision because the decision of merit was made in December. And in the last month, or the next month, hopefully, well, Orban Viktor was still with the caretaking prime minister. And I said even yesterday that if there are any international commitments that must be met, then please, I asked him to call me. He knows my number now, so we can discuss it. And I do expect him to do so. As the future prime minister, I should be informed, and he shouldn't make decisions over my head. But if he's blocking something, also the same procedure should apply. So I'm looking forward to his phone call. Thank you. The Polish TVP from Poland is the next. Thank you for joining us today. So the floor is yours.
I'm from TVP World, the English channel of the Polish public broadcaster. I want to ask you, could you give us more specifics on the planned cooperation, closer cooperation with Warsaw? In what fields do you see this cooperation growing? And my second question is, you said that you will be making phone calls with other leaders after this conference. Do you plan to call US President Donald Trump? And how do you see the future cooperation with Washington after it openly backed Viktor Orban in this election?
Thank you. First question.
Thank you. So yes, indeed, I said we have some very close historic and cultural links and friendship with Poland, but I have already discussed with your Prime Minister that we would like to restore and strengthen the institutional system. But also infrastructural links are required. Economic links should be developed because how is it possible that we have much greater investments with other countries that are much further away from us, or they invest here, whereas with our historic friend that is not very far from us, we don't really have joint ventures, we don't have a shared Central European platform. So we would like to deepen our friendship and cooperation in every field. But first comes the friendship and honest communication and laying the groundworks, and then anything can happen. And I am personally involved in a strong alliance between Poland and Hungary. I remember when I was a diplomat in Brussels, the Visegrad 4 cooperation was so strong, and the decision-making was slightly different, that the V4 countries had the same number of votes as the German and the Germans and the French together, and we were able to influence decisions. And at the time, the Brits were also part of the EU. Let's hope they will rejoin. But this is not only in Hungary's interest, it's also in Poland's interest. Poland is also stronger if it has stronger ties with Hungary, and vice versa. And that also applies to Czechia. So I would like to thank Mr. Andrej Babiš, the Czech Prime Minister, who sent me a congratulatory letter, and he is also a strong ally of Viktor Orban, and he invited me and congratulated me, and he asked me to visit him in Prague. Prague is one of my favorite cities, so I will be glad to meet him there, and I would like to discuss with him how we can, despite our political differences, build a strong Central Europe and a strong V4.
Donald Trump, American president, I don't think it works like this, that I call him. He called Viktor Orban in the kitchen. It has happened, and the vice president traveled to Budapest in the campaign. I think people attack this, but I think all leaders can decide whether they support or campaign or endorse, as it is said in English. I don't have a problem with this, but obviously after an elections it's a different situation, and in NATO and US is a strong and important partner of Hungary, leading strength of NATO and the world. We have to do everything, regardless of what happened in the election campaign, to have a close relationship with the US. I myself am not going to call him, but if he or anyone else from the US administration contacts the TISA administration, we will be available. For the 70th anniversary of the 56th revolution, when we are expecting world leaders to Budapest, the US Secretary of State or the Vice President or the President can visit Hungary for these celebrations. CNN in the front row.
First of all, Viktor Orban was such a figurehead for the global populist movement. What does his defeat mean for movements like MAGA? And my second question is more Hungarian. Here in Budapest, you have such a large part of the infrastructure of that global populist movement, the think tanks, the learning centers, the MCC. What becomes of them, and do they continue to be funded by state money?
Thank you very much. First of all, the MAGA and these populist institutions and the defeat of Prime Minister Orban in that field. Az az igazság, hogy ez nem az én feladatom.
I don't think this is my task, because MAGA and this whole patriot group, this is not our case, this is theirs. I believe this is a major losing for them. Orban Viktor was their ad face. I mean, what ad face he was, but he was the idea behind this fight against Brussels. Orban Viktor is an interesting personality. I don't want to talk too much about him because he's the past. In '89, he was fighting against the Soviets. Then he was the Liberal International's vice chair. Then he was fighting against others. Then he People's Party, European People's Party vice chair. He was fighting against liberals. Then he was again elected prime minister. He started fighting against Brussels and against the American elite when it was headed by the Democrats. And then when the Republican president was elected first, and then he started fighting against Europe, and he created this network of populist think tanks. How should I put it? Yes, state-financed network. So he's always fighting against someone. An elected Hungarian prime minister's task is not to fight against someone on the global stage, against liberals or the conservatives or this or that, but to make the lives of Hungarian people better, to deal with our problems, that hospitals shouldn't close, that we shouldn't die 5 years sooner than the European average. This is a major loss at European level, and this is why the world was monitoring so close. We love our country, and I'm sure that the international press and attention was aimed at us because he was and will remain, despite his losing now, remain in this party. Many have congratulated us from his allies, from Viktor Orbán's allies, congratulated us. The vice president, when he was here, J.D. Vance, they will cooperate with the next Hungarian government, whether it's going to be headed by Viktor Orbán or the leader of the opposition that they didn't know then. Hopefully we'll get to know each other. The Americans have dropped him then. Now the Kremlin have dropped him after the statement of today, and I believe more and more those linked to MAGA or Patriots alliances, it's going to be, it was his very close Russian ties where it could be seen that he was not representing European interests, but other interests, Russian interests. So now, having lost the elections so strongly, let's say, for him this is a major loss. The whole propaganda, secret service agencies, he called world leaders, he was bowing to the east, to the west, he asked for help from everywhere, and still he lost. So I believe his stance fell. And the second question, the state is not going to finance CPAC events, no, or Matthäus Corvinus Collegium institutions. The state shouldn't have. I think this was a criminal offense. Party financing mixed up with government expenditures that are budget funds. I think this is a criminal offense, and the future authorities will have to examine or investigate these, because these budget funds were not for party events. CPAC can come to Budapest, very welcome, but not from Hungarian taxpayers' money, then Fidesz's money or Viktor Orbán's buddy's money before we take it back. Thank you. France 24 in the white shirt in the third row. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to stay on this theme of far right. Hungary has been seen as a laboratory of far right policies. Lately, Marine Le Pen was here, Matteo Salvini, Geert Wilders. How do you see the impact of these results, of yesterday's results, on the rise of the far right wing parties, especially in Europe, and especially that some countries will be having some crucial elections in the coming months and years, like France, for instance? And I'll let my colleague ask the second question.
Thank you.
Hi, Clovis Casali, France 24. So, another question on Russia this time. You spoke of the risks, the dangers for Europe previously on many levels. Do you believe Russia presents a security risk for Europe?
Thank you. The first question, the far right issue. Yes, ismerjük, igen, tudjuk, hogy
yes, we know that these players are important allies of Viktor Orbán. They work together. They are supporting each other. I can say the same thing. If you look for the reasons, European politicians, I mean, who don't belong to the extreme left or the right or the anarchists, but they are in some mainstream party, and they see that there's a decline and extremities are rising. So it's not these band-aids should be used, but the real reasons should be found, because these are not coincidences. It's never a coincidence when extreme is on the rise. I don't like the word extreme. National Front in France has a lot of supporters, and I think a lot of decent French people, patriots, are supporting the National Front. I don't like when they say, Viktor Orbán said, we are left. We are not left-wing. We are Hungarian patriots. If the word patriot wouldn't have been taken, I would say we are patriots ourselves. I respectfully recommend to everyone, and I learned a lot about the way of thinking, the mindset of people, how you can do politics. Let's talk about the essence. And this is what I recommend to European leaders. So they should leave this politically correct talk aside. Talk about what fears people have, what affects their feeling of security. Europe mismanaged the migration crisis. They didn't see that this is a real fear in people. The European culture, labor market situation deteriorating, so pseudo solutions. They try to be the good people, the good man, the good. They are helping the problems, but their own citizens, they forgot the fears of their own citizens. This is one example. Illegal migration. Most countries now, rather late, they have realized that their initial stance was not good. And it's not because you shouldn't help people who are in a problem, but the problem shouldn't be brought to Europe, but we should help the most in those countries that are issuing countries where the problem is there. So it's not tinned food and we take 3 immigrants and we sell weapons to African countries and become rich. I will be an honest person. Not everyone may like this. I'm not doing this to attack, but I'm not too old and I'm not an experienced politician, but what I can see, what happened here yesterday is a landslide. And this is how European leaders are looking at this. What are the lessons learned from this? What can we learn from this? To talk directly to people, to deal with people, to care about them, not rosy and pink words, but if Europe has a problem, if Europe loses its economic power, military power, it should be said, and we should find a solution for it, and we should work together. But, of course, recognizing our differences, respecting the differences of the member states. If I talk to the President of the Commission or the Council, I spoke yesterday, President Costa, I will use this opportunity to talk about, let's not force things on one another. Europe has this slogan, unified in diversity. So we don't have to have a European United States. So some politicians thought about it, but Europeans don't strive for this. At least I see this here in Hungary. They want functioning, strong nation states and a good and well-functioning EU that gives the framework that helps people so that they can travel freely, they can work, they can invest in each other's countries and to live in peace. This is what Hungarians want. I worked 8 or 9 years in Brussels. So for some reason, people in Brussels think everything is happening there. Everything should be regulated, but less is more occasionally. And if you adhere to it, stick to it, and everyone respects it, we are further ahead than if we have 125 rules and no one wants to adhere to them. But I don't want to go too far. All I wanted to say was that the extreme right, but I don't like this name. I think everyone can find the solution. And I would recommend to all politicians, work, work, work. This is what we asked from our volunteers. And without money, without power, in -20 and in +40, they worked. And the result was that yesterday we got TISA got the largest mandate ever. And I'm extremely grateful to them. Second question, Russia, is it a security risk? I think yes. I think everyone knows, we know the Russians, and I'm not talking about the Russian people, the Russian culture, the Russian people, they are fantastic people. But the Russian bear, in Hungarian history, we felt it in 1849, in 1944, 1945, but in the 1920s, in 1956, and then they were here with us for a long time. So we know exactly what this is about. And Europe has to be able, and the member states separately, but Europe has to prepare for this, has to protect and defend itself. And what the previous Hungarian government said is not possible, that Russian hackers go in and out of the foreign ministry before the breaking out of the war, and sensitive NATO information landed in the hands of Russians. So it's no coincidence that we are allies, we are in the same club, in the same team, not even in a football team. I can't go to the dressing room of the other team and share the tactics that we discussed before the match. And Péter Szijjártó did this. He was on a hotline with the Russian foreign minister, with his good friend. This cannot happen. Of course, a foreign minister should be in contact with another foreign minister. This is what diplomacy is about. But sensitive information of my allies, I cannot hand over to a country that is in war.
As independent Serbia.
CNN affiliate, one of last standing independent media in Serbia. There are serious allegations of coordinated activities between Aleksandar Vučić, the president of Serbia, and Viktor Orban, including the claims of a false flag operation recently in Serbia. So will you look into this once you get into your position, and will you redefine the relationship with Serbian authorities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, the first question, Vučić.
Az első kérdés. Thank you. Thank you. I received the congratulations from the government of Serbia, and yes, indeed, also in the campaign there was a false flag event on actually Easter Sunday, when there was a planned attack on the gas pipeline, but it was an attack that Viktor Orban had already disclosed a week earlier. And I think that the Serbian leaders also backed out from this event or mission, because it was only it was a good thing that they did so, because the TISA government will investigate this situation, because if there is an actual danger, then a prime minister must take responsibility for that, instead of playing like a theater play, because Viktor Orban flew there by helicopter and wearing a helmet or whatnot. So no, he must guarantee the security of the country, whether it's Serbia or Hungary. So under this government there will be order, peace, security and development in Hungary. I will gladly meet the Serbian president. I know exactly what's going on in Serbia, and I also know the ties between the Orban government and the Vučić government in Serbia. And I also am aware of the links between Robert Fico and Slovakia and Viktor Orban, and I know who is behind that. I know who is the godfather behind these friendships. Yet, the people, Hungarians living, because of the Hungarians living in Serbia, it is very important for us to maintain the relatively good Serbian-Hungarian relations and not to make them dependent on individuals. I think that Serbian leadership, it is in the interest of the Serbian leadership and of Hungarians living in Serbia and ourselves in Hungary, despite the fact that we think differently about the world than President Vučić or his government or Serbian leaders, but it's very important to have a friendship and good relations with Serbia. And we are not going to interfere with the internal affairs of other countries. I saw